Hi, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People. And I don't plan on making another video about this because I've gotta I gotta move on. But I wanna make sure Metasoap has a chance to actually understand what I'm saying. I think she does. I think she's just being avoidant. But I'm not sure. So I'll explain it, okay? Look, here's what the most recent thing says. I have no issue with your ranty tanties, if you, number one, have a clear idea of the scope of the issue. Well, first of all, there's no reason to accept your burden. Now, I'm not saying I don't have a clear idea of the scope of the issue, but what you're saying is simply you're assigning a burden that assumes the thing that you're trying to say, right? That I don't have a clear scope of the issue, a clear understanding of the scope of the issue. But of course, I've got a vastly better understanding of the scope of the issue than probably anyone else in America. That's why I'm running for president. All right, so let's look at the next mistake that Mesa makes. Number two, feasible alternatives. Well, I mean, look, I have plenty of feasible alternatives. I got plenty of plans and strategies in place here. But I'm first and foremost a pragmatist. I understand that we cannot tear down government all in one day, and that some parts of it are going to wither on their own. We don't really need to take any action, and some parts are going to need to take some action because they've got too many people suckling off of that teat, you know. So it's going to take a hard ass to go in there and fire those fuckers. Um, Preferable alternatives to what, Metasoap? To the roads? I'm not proposing the government stop funding the roads, right? If you want an alternative funding mechanism, I've offered multiple already. I've said we could fund it with a lottery. I know we're not going to get rid of all taxes, so let's keep the sales tax. It could easily pay for the roads with that. When I said roads cost almost nothing, they actually cost $6 billion, which is almost nothing compared to the 130 billion other dollars that are spent on things in California. So you are correct, technically, Metasoap, that my hyperbole that it cost nothing was inaccurate, as hyperboles necessarily definitionally are. But the problem is, it doesn't have any weight, what you're saying. You're critiquing my style rather than anything I'm saying. You understand what I mean? When you say, like, well, you have to have all these, you have to meet these burdens. Measurable data associated with both of the above. Okay, so would you like data on the number of individuals who are subject to arrest at traffic stops that were not violent offenders? I could get you that number. I can tell you that at least 1 million people in America are incarcerated for non-crimes, okay? At least 1 million. But Metasoap, you need to understand something and take it seriously, because it's important. The problem here is not my lack of data, because it doesn't matter if it's 1 million people or 500,000 people. Do you understand why it doesn't matter? Because the point is that it produces consistent systemic violence against American citizens who've done nothing wrong. You've asked me to give you more numbers, as though there were some dispute about whether or not people get pulled over on the highway, as though there was some dispute about whether or not government spends a lot of money on stuff that's not roads, as though there was some dispute over the fact that it's possible to fund things in alternate ways. You want me to provide the alternative? Well, Metasoap, first concede my framework. Then we can talk practicalities. Right now, you are stuck in a moment. You've double bound yourself completely, right? On the one hand, you're critiquing you're critiquing things that my case doesn't have, right? Which is a common trick in debate. So for debaters who who are losing rounds badly, they start assigning unwarranted random burdens to their opponents. Like, well, but my opponent didn't do this. If what I would say, Metasoap, is this: if I were to actually play nibs with you, which is what it's called when what you're doing, necessary but insufficient burdens, um, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror in the morning, right? I'd be ashamed of myself. I'm not gonna play nibs with you. By the way, nibs fall at the slightest breeze of a theory argument. Okay, so that doesn't fly, dude. Sorry. Now look, I am not asking you to agree with me or whatever, but what you are doing now is insane. You are grasping. Number 4, communication that is simple, clear, and doesn't require someone to spend more than 5 minutes with you to understand where you're coming from. Well, unfortunately, I've got decades of indoctrination to dig through, Metasoap, as evidenced by your comments there and your responses. You have not yet addressed the violence. You haven't. If you think my worldview is complicated, every other worldview is vastly more complicated. Vastly, vastly more complicated. Why? Because everybody else is doing that concentric circle thing that they tried to do when they were insisting that everything in the universe be a perfect circle because God made it that way. And so when the astronomy didn't conform to that, they made ever more complex models to somehow have the facts and the truth support the side that they already believed in. It doesn't work. If you really want to be engaged with any of these issues in a meaningful way, then you're going to have to put aside your ego and accept the fact that my delivery is not the problem. The fact that my position requires a little bit of attention, requires you to think, and takes more than 5 minutes of your cognitive effort is not a sign that there's something wrong with my position. There's a sign that there's something wrong with how you evaluate the value of positions. Now, it's clear in this instance that you are primarily interested in persisting in this, in winning something, in winning a point. So I'm going to give you the hyperbole one, okay? You win the hyperbole point. That was not actually true, that we spend almost nothing on roads. It was hyperbole. And it was ill-advised in the sense that, well, I mean, I think it was good because it gave you something to fixate on. And then that's good because as you got increasingly stubborn about the whole thing, this is a golden opportunity for you to step back, look at your own perspectives, read that article I linked to you, that Badass Rights article, and consider, you're an INTP. You find a way to make your current worldview consistent. I mean, I don't even know what it is, except I know that it is glowing with the internalized acceptance of victimization. I can see it. I can see it in everything you say and write. I can see the fact that you're not even addressing the violence issue first, as though that should come later. That shows that you have internalized those lies. And you are reflecting them in your own realities right now. You don't have to do that. They're a bunch of fucking douchebags. You shouldn't listen to them. Reject it all. Piglet, what day is today? Oh, today's the day we burn this motherfucker to the ground. My favorite day.